The alarms went off before the shuttle even docked, and every screen on Keithran Station turned red at once. I was standing in the medical wing when the warning sounded. A voice repeated the same words again and again. Incoming vessel damaged. Life support failing. Prepare for emergency evacuation of arriving passengers. I did not know yet that the passenger they meant was Lyra. My name is Daniel Ross. Years ago, I worked inside the Velsarai Royal Court as a human liaison. It was not a grand job. I fixed translation mistakes and made sure meetings ran on time. But the person I worked closest to was Princess Lyra Velsarai, and somewhere between endless meetings and long nights, she became the closest friend I ever had. Then her transport was hit during the Ashkelon raid 3 years ago. The wreckage was found scattered across 2 star systems. After 4 months of searching, the Crown declared her dead. I stood at her memorial. I said the words they asked me to say, and then I went home and tried to stop thinking about her because there was nothing left to think about. Except she was never dead. She had been captured and hidden away by a splinter group left over from the war, kept alive in a jammed outpost with no signal reaching the outside. It took 3 years and a joint rescue fleet to find that outpost and pull her out. Today was the day they brought her home, and the ship carrying her had taken damage on the way. I ran toward the docking bay the moment I heard her name on the emergency channel. Officers tried to stop me at the checkpoint, but a station doctor waved me through, shouting that they needed anyone who could help keep the arriving patient calm. The doors to the docking bay tore open before the ship had even finished stabilizing. Smoke curled from one damaged engine vent. Medical staff rushed forward with a stretcher, but the woman who stumbled out did not need a stretcher. She needed something no doctor could give her. Lyra stood in the doorway of the ship, gripping the frame with both hands, and she did not move. Around her, alarms kept blaring, red lights kept flashing, and dozens of people in uniforms rushed past her in every direction. To anyone else, this was a busy, chaotic rescue. To her, it was something far worse. I need to explain what 3 years in that outpost did to her. Her people, the Velsarai, read emotion the way we read tone of voice. It is a second language written across the face, something most humans cannot even notice happening. Lyra had spent 3 years surrounded by captors who had trained themselves to show nothing at all, specifically so she could never read their intentions. When you take that sense away from someone for 3 years, you do not just weaken it, you destroy it. Every face becomes empty noise. Every face might belong to someone dangerous. So when the doors opened onto a docking bay full of strangers in uniforms, moving fast, shouting instructions, surrounded by fire and alarms, her mind did not see a rescue. It saw a crowd of unreadable threats, closing in from every direction, exactly like the room she had spent 3 years trying to survive. She backed against the doorframe. A medic reached toward her, and she flinched so hard she nearly fell. 2 more staff moved in to help, and she pressed herself further into the corner of the doorway, breathing fast, her eyes moving from face to face and finding nothing she could trust in any of them. The lead doctor called for a sedative. Another officer called for restraint procedures, worried the smoke was thickening and the exit needed to be cleared fast. Neither option would have gone well. Forcing her out while she was in that state would have only proven to her that the danger was real. I pushed through the crowd before anyone could stop me. Someone grabbed my arm and I pulled free. I was not trained for any of this. I had no authority in that bay. I only had one thing, something small and useless looking to everyone except her. Years ago, while working late nights fixing translation errors, I used to hum without noticing I was doing it. A simple, tuneless little pattern, 3 notes down, down, and up. It meant nothing on its own. But Lyra used to sneak into my office to escape her tutors, and somewhere along the way she picked up the same 3 notes without realizing it. It became a private thing between us. No words, no meaning anyone else could read. Just a sound that only the 2 of us shared. So with smoke still curling from the engine vent and alarms still screaming overhead, I stood at the edge of the crowd and hummed those same 3 notes, quietly, badly, the way I always had. Her head turned before her eyes found me. That detail confused the doctors afterward, and I was the only one who could explain it. She was not searching the crowd for a familiar face. Faces meant nothing to her anymore. She was listening, and across a room full of people she could not trust, she heard the one sound in 3 years that had never once tried to fool her. She ran. Not toward the medics, not toward the officers calling out evacuation orders. She ran straight at me, faster than I expected, so fast that a nearby guard stepped forward on instinct before someone called him off. She hit me hard enough to knock me back a step, wrapped both arms around me, and held on like the floor itself might vanish if she let go. "I thought you were gone forever," she said, her voice muffled against my shoulder, shaking with every word. "I thought you were too," I told her. It was the truest thing I had said in 3 years. The alarms were still going. Smoke was still rising behind us. But for a moment, none of that mattered because the only thing keeping either of us steady was each other. The doctor in charge tried again, gently this time, to guide her toward the exit. The moment his hand came near her, she tensed, and I felt her grip tighten around me instead of loosening. He backed away and looked at me, unsure what to do next, with an entire evacuation waiting on his decision. "Keep humming," he said. "Just walk with her, we will follow." So that is what I did. I kept my arm around her and walked slowly toward the exit, humming those same 3 notes over and over, while a princess who once ran an empire's foreign correspondence clung to my sleeve and let herself be led through a burning docking bay, because it was the only path that did not feel like danger. We were halfway to the exit corridor when a second alarm cut through the first, sharper and louder, warning that the damaged engine was venting unstable gas and the bay needed to be sealed within minutes. Staff began moving faster. Someone shouted for everyone to clear the area immediately. Lyra's grip turned to iron. Her breathing sped up again. The new noise, the new panic in people's voices, threatened to undo the small bit of calm we had built in the last minute. I did not stop walking. I did not raise my voice. I kept humming, slower this time, deliberately slower, so the sound stood apart from every siren and shout around us. I felt her breathing start to match the pace of the hum instead of the alarms, and for a few more steps, that was enough to keep her moving forward instead of freezing in place. We reached the sealed corridor seconds before the heavy doors slid shut behind the last evacuating staff member. The alarms outside dimmed to a distant hum through the thick walls. Lyra did not let go of me even after the doors closed. She stood there, breathing hard, staring at nothing, until slowly, carefully, her eyes began to focus on the corridor around her instead of the noise behind us. A young doctor knelt down near us, speaking softly, explaining that the danger had passed and the bay was already being contained. Lyra flinched slightly at the sound of a new voice, but this time she did not pull away completely. She simply moved closer to me instead, and let the doctor speak from a careful distance. It took months after that day for her to trust faces again, for the blank static she saw everywhere to slowly turn back into real, readable expressions. I was not part of the medical side of that recovery. I was not qualified for any of it, and I never pretended to be. But I was there most days, humming badly, being the one steady thing in a lot of unfamiliar rooms. Her mother visited often during those months. One afternoon, she watched from the doorway as I sat beside Lyra, humming while she rested, and she asked me quietly how I had done in one afternoon what trained specialists could not manage in 3 years. I told her the truth. I had not done anything a specialist could not have done better. I had simply never learned to hide what I was thinking, so my voice carried nothing false in it. When every face around her could lie, my voice was the one thing that could not. Lyra leads reconstruction work across several outpost worlds now, the very kind of places that once held her captive, turning them into something safer for whoever comes next. She still hums that same tuneless three notes when she is thinking hard about something, usually without noticing she is doing it, the same way she did all those years ago in a small translation office. I still cannot carry a tune to save my life. Some people are remembered for winning a war. I am remembered for being bad at humming in exactly the right doorway on exactly the right day when nothing else in the world could reach her. I will take it.